Revenge films.
I'm a housewife living with my husband and son. My son goes to kindergarten, and the family of one of his classmates moved nearby recently. They had 2 cars, but only a 1-car garage, so they parked one of them on the street. My husband and I run a small business and rent a parking spot elsewhere. The mother of my son's classmate, Hillary, heard about it and came up to me one day saying, "I heard you rent a parking spot somewhere even though you have spots on your property." I didn't see her point in saying that, which only made me a little uncomfortable. Soon my hunch turned out right. One day as I was pulling into our parking spot, I noticed a white minivan parked there. That looked familiar to me. Hillary drove that to pick up his son at kindergarten. I also checked the license number. I called her up immediately, but she didn't answer the phone, so I had no choice but to park my car for our business lots. I called her again a little later, and she answered this time. "Hi, Hillary, I saw your car in our parking spot. Could you move it now?" "I'll move it in 3 hours or so, thank you." "No, you can't do that. I'd like you to move it right now." All right." But she didn't. She showed up 3 hours later. I told her, "You can't do this again. We'll have big trouble if you do this." "What's the big deal? You have a business and you have spots for it. You can just park right there." "That's not your concern. We rent this parking lot. We pay for it." "Why can't you let me use it when it's available?" "How can you decide when it's available? You don't know. It's just because it's empty. You should rent your own space if you need to." I told her firmly, but she shrugged and walked away. I wasn't sure if she understood. Then the same thing happened within just a few days. I called her up and told her to move it. We repeated the same kind of conversation. I realized I needed to step further for this kind of person. A month later, Hillary approached me at the kindergarten and talked to me in a friendly way. "Thank you for letting me use your parking spot for a month. That helped us a lot." "Really? I've been parking my car on my spot all this time." "What? What are you talking about? I've been using your spot for a month now." It can't be because I changed the spot." "What? How could you do this to me?" "You don't know why? I've been paying for my parking lot and you don't stop using it. What's the point of me keeping that spot?" "Oh no, you should have told me." "That's not my problem. I don't pay for that spot anymore. You just parked your car there for a month for free. They charge $300 per day for unauthorized parking." "You must be joking." "Not at all. You've never noticed there's a big sign there stating that?" While we were having the conversation, her phone rang. She went pale as she answered the call. From what I understood, the spot was vacant for a while after I made a change. When somebody signed the contract and tried to park in that spot, her car was parked there. Naturally, the person called up the company to complain about it. And when the company investigated the problem using the security camera, they discovered not only just one time, but the whole month. She was using that spot without permission. They called the police, who found the owner of the car. Hillary hung up the phone and said, "How could you do this to me? It's all your fault. I owe them a $9,000 penalty now." "In what way is it my fault? I told you again and again not to park your car in my spot, but you never listened to me and kept using my spot. I had no choice but to change it. Now you have to pay the penalty. It's only logical." "Not at all. You only used the spot occasionally. You could have just been a little more kind to me and let me use it. What can you do now? $9,000? This is all your fault and you should pay for it." "Could you please stop joking? Just talk to anybody about this. anybody will see you started all of this. Do you have any idea if my husband finds out about this? Whether your husband finds out or not, you owe them the penalty, that's for sure. She turned blue as she heard my words. There was no way to come up with that amount of money without telling the truth to the family, so she just ignored it. Then they got a letter of warning from the parking company, and then her husband knew the truth for the first time. It wasn't hard to imagine how furious her husband became. He also found out about the trouble she'd caused us and came by to apologize, with an envelope in his hand with some compensation.
I'm truly sorry for what my wife did to you. I had no idea about what was going on. I'm speechless. I will make sure something like this will never happen again.
He apologized to us sincerely, but I had to ask him why he had no idea about his wife owning 2 cars. He said Hillary lied to him that she found a parking lot elsewhere, so he had no idea she just parked anywhere she could, from the street to somebody's parking lot. She then used the money for herself that she had been given for parking. It was lucky for us that the husband was a man of sense, although his wife was impossible. All that penalty she owed was for her to pay back, of course. Not only did she not have any money to use freely, but had no choice but to have 2 jobs, day and night, and no other choice but to move in with her in-laws. She said things couldn't be worse, but it was all she had caused herself. She had some nerve to call me to ask for help, about half of the money she owed. So I called her husband right away. And this time, not only her husband, but her parents-in-law showed up at the door to apologize. This time, she seemed to get punished severely. They'd planned a family trip for the sake of their child. They went on the trip, but only with the child, her husband, and in-laws, but not her. She had to keep working. She was excited about the trip before and bragging about it to all the other mothers at the kindergarten. I can imagine her disappointment. As usual, the word spread among other mothers, which gave them a warning. The mothers group abandoned her, and eventually there was no one to talk to her. She's still saying that if I could only tell her about changing my spot, that would have only caused the same trouble over again with my new spot.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.